Hello, everyone. Mr. Fernandez.
What is up, senor? I would love to see you. Unfortunately, my video has been disabled. Maybe that's a good thing for the general public, but you definitely can hear me, right?
Yes, I can definitely, unfortunately, I can definitely hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm that voice in your head, Mark Nelson. I am the angel on your shoulder telling you to do the right thing. But
really, I could have sworn you were always the devil.
No,
the other version of you.
No, not at all. With this face and voice, you kidding me? Okay, just to let people know, I'm trying to push start video, and I get the prompt that says you cannot start your video because you are a horrible host. Okay, no, it says you cannot start your video because the host has disabled it. So just letting the host has asked you to start your video. There we go. Hey.
There we are indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, very nice to have you all here. Thank you for tuning in. We really, really appreciate that. And you are here today because you are interested in the environment, you're interested in conservation, and you would like to hear from our wonderful friends from the WWF Youth Council. And of course, they're incredible young people that have been involved with WWF for a long time now and have then gone on to further their careers within the environment and conservation workplace. And so we're going to talk to them a little bit about how they got involved, what inspired them, who inspired them, and how other people can now get involved and why that is so important. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Mark Nelson. Now, I'm so glad that WWF-Philippines created the Youth Council, because for quite some time, it was just you and I manning the ship in regards to, you know, being the voice of the Philippines in regards to, you know, the environment, and of course, representing WWF Philippines. So it's so great to get the younger perspective of the youth, and their voice and their knowledge and their experience is so vital in the future of the environment and in the future of the Philippines, especially. So this is a learning experience for both of us. You know, I really am so glad they're part of this. So I can't wait to hear what they have to say.
Same here. And just to let you guys know, we've got 4 members of the Youth Council. This is not the entire Youth Council. There are more of them, but we're very, very privileged to have 4 of them take some time out from their extremely busy schedules to join us today. We have Isa Nazal, Alexa Cancho, Nikki Huang, and Tiana Porras. So we're going to kick things off and invite them in already one by one. We're going to start things off with Isa Nazal. She is the officer in charge of the City Agriculture Office and City Environment and Transport Coordinator of the LGU in Navotas. She's also a licensed environmental planner and a human ecology major in human settlements planning from UPLB. Ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, we give you Isa Nazal.
Yay.
Yay. Or alternatively, we do not have Isa yet. I think she's still trying to tune in. So we'll move on to one of our other wonderful friends. She is she served as the chairperson of WWF Philippines' first National Youth Council, where she led the council in developing legacy campaigns to involve the youth in sustainable living and conservation. She then continued her pursuit of enabling wildlife conservation and social development through fieldwork in Botswana, when she pursued her Masters of Science in Tourism, Environment and Development at King's College in London. And she now serves 2 key positions to continue building change in different landscapes, acting as an environmental consultant for Eunomia Research and Consulting and serving as sustainable tourism advisor for a Zimbabwe-based NGO called Sainted Roots. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Alexa Cancho.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, Alexa.
Hi, Alexa. What a resume. Wow.
Yeah,
thanks.
That makes our resume of, like, you know, bartending and waiting tables look pretty pathetic in comparison.
Oh, no, absolutely not. You guys have done so much for WWF. Hands up, for sure.
Thank you for joining us, Alexa. Where are you coming to us from right now? Just let everyone
So I'm
know.
actually based in London right now. I've been working here for the past year and a half since completing my master's program. So I'm happy to be here, albeit with the slight time difference.
Awesome. Now, we're going to ask a question to each and every one of you as we get you guys on board. So I'm going to fire it away at you first. How did you get into environmental conservation and sustainability, and why?
Yeah, so it actually started out when I was in high school, and our science teacher showed us An Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore. And that's when I saw the huge contributions that our society actually gives in terms of destroying nature. And it shocked me so much that it made me want to pursue environmental conservation work and climate change work as my career. And I tried to do that as much as I could by participating in my environmental society when I was in college. And then I looked for a job basically in sustainability work following that. And I was really lucky to be part of that sustainability team for my first job at First Philippine Holdings. So I was there for about 3.5 years, helping out their companies in renewable energy and all that. And then I decided to try to be a bit more focused and work on sustainable tourism, because I think that there's so much promise in that. And we obviously see that in the Philippines as well. So that's what I'm trying to do right now in my role as sustainable advisor or sustainable tourism advisor for Sainted Roots, and also doing my environmental consultancy work at Eunomia Research and Consulting.
Wow.
Excellent.
You have been a very, very busy woman.
Yeah, I try to be. I think it's one of those things where when you're doing environmental work or really any type of development work, it's pretty much all or nothing. And you need to be dedicated and as passionate as you can be, because the goal at the end of the day is to try to create as much impact as you possibly can. I think that's really been the main driver for like the past 10 years.
Now, Alexa, you've been traveling all over the world, and now you have the opportunity to look from the outside looking in to our beloved country, the Philippines. What can you see from the outside that we need help in, or what do you think you can bring to the table when you eventually come back here and help us out? What is your first thing that you would probably fix?
Well, I think that the Philippines has so much potential for sustainable tourism, because we are obviously so blessed with beautiful biodiversity all over the country. And it's not being used to its best abilities yet, but we're seeing amazing stories and examples like places in Donsol where community is being involved in the tourism aspect to introduce the world to, you know, our beautiful Butandings. And I think that that shows so much promise for what we can really do to find a way to make community work alongside the environment. And then they can actually see, you know what, this is actually really important to us. We need this to survive. And at the same time, it's something that we can appreciate as individuals, not just because it provides jobs for everyone, but because it's something that we can be proud of as a nation, that this is basically ours, that we can show this off to the world. And I think it's really just about trying to build those connections and trying to prioritize, you know, all these tourism activities that take care of the environment, but are also good for people, rather than just trying to throw in so many tourists at the same time. And then the experience is kind of sacrificed because you don't get to enjoy that pure natural experience with the environment.
Very, very well said. Yes, of course, eco-friendly tourism that benefits not just the environment, but also the community. And on top of that, we also get a little bit of Filipino pride in there. So yeah, great example. Now, we want to just invite in one of our other youth council members now. And so I will introduce her as an incoming sophomore at Boston University, pursuing a double major in sociology and international relations. Her interests lie in fostering environmentally, economically, and socially sustainable businesses, particularly within the fashion and retail sector. She is likewise a part-time journalist. Her writing focuses on her experiences as a young adult, pursuing her dreams and balancing life between the Philippines and the US. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nikki Huang.
Hello.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, of course, as usual.
Hi, Nikki. Thanks for hanging out with us. Awesome plant behind you. I love it.
Hey, it's my mom, so I'll tell her you said that.
Okay, cool, cool.
Now, Nikki, we know that you're another extremely busy young woman, juggling so many different things at the same time. But we want to thank you, first of all, for taking some time out to join us here today. But also, we're going to ask you that first intro question of how and why did you get involved in the environment and conservation?
Yes, of course. I think it's quite a complicated question. I feel like I could talk about my answer for 4 hours or more because it's an area that lies very close to my heart. But I'm going to put it briefly and say that I've actually, and this is not planned or scripted, I've always been a fan and follower of the work of WWF. When I was younger, going back to my mom again, she didn't allow me to watch any cartoon. So I was stuck with Animal Planet and Discovery Channel. So that's where that first started. And then I began looking into all the conservation efforts that were going on in the world around me, especially for research projects in middle school. And one organization that always stood out and whose values and work really seemed so sustainable to me, especially because I was growing up in the business world, is WWF. So by the time I got to high school, I was really interested, in engaging further and putting what I had learned to use, especially within our own country. And that's when I applied to WWF Philippines as a National Youth Council member. I've been here since, I believe, batch one, because Alexa was my chairperson. And I'm still here, and it's been absolutely amazing. And I did take a gap year before going to college. And for the first 2 months of that, I lived in El Nido, Palawan, working for El Nido Resorts' Sustainability Council, as well as the Department of Tourism. So that really fostered my love for the environment, sustainable tourism and business, and conservation. Because when you're living in the midst of the Coral Triangle and just diving every day and hiking up mountains and seeing everything your own country has to offer, you can't help but care so dearly and want everyone around you to as well.
Very well put. I must say, that's a tough gig you had.
It was very much, it built my character for sure.
Awesome. Mr. Fernandez, would you like to introduce our next guest?
It would be an honor. And our next member of the NYC, she graduated from the University of Santo Tomas with a bachelor's degree in Asian Studies. She was also part of the executive board of UST Volunteers for UNICEF as its vice president for advocacy. Currently, she is on her last term as the WWF Philippines National Youth Council chairperson. No! She now works full-time under the office of the executive director of the Philippine Business for Progress Incorporated. Please help us in welcoming Ms. Kiana Porras.
Hi, hello, good evening, Mark and Rob. Good evening, Alexa and Nikki. Thank you so much for having us. Hello.
Hi, Kiana.
Hey, Kiana.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to throw you straight into the that first question that we want to hear, because I mean, that's why everyone is really tuned in. How you guys got involved, what inspired you to start working within the environment and sustainability field?
Well, I think I have the same story just like Alexa, because I started getting curious about how I can contribute to environmental sustainability way back in high school. It was when one of my teachers pointed out that we should avoid using single-use plastics, specifically disposable straws, because we only use it for a couple of minutes, and then after that we throw it, right? But it actually stays in the planet for hundreds of years. So on top of making us realize that, she actually showed us this video of how some researchers were trying to remove a straw from the nose of a turtle. I think you have seen that video, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can really see how painful the process was for the marine animal. So it affected me so much that I actually started to refuse single-use plastics, to not use disposable straws anymore. And then from there on, opportunities to do more for the planet opened up now for me. So specifically, my exposure as part of the National Youth Council of WWF, working beside Alexa and Nikki and the rest of the team. So yeah, that is how I started advocating for environmental sustainability.
Excellent. Wow, you
Wow.
guys are truly inspiring to have gotten involved in the environmental field at such a young age. I want to ask, this question is going out to all of you. Who did you look up to as your, I guess, environmental hero? Someone that inspired you and someone that maybe you wanted to emulate? Anyone?
Okay, I'll take this one first. Why not? So I first began in complete awe of Charles Darwin. I was really interested in his work and his writing as a young student, and I think it was a big undertaking for a 10-year-old to be reading Charles Darwin. However, then I got very interested, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dr. Jane Goodall. She does incredible work with chimpanzees. And has really helped people understand that there is a lot more connecting us to other species than I guess we'd like to think, because humans do enjoy thinking that they're very special and very different from all other species, which I think has bred this very interesting sense of, I'll go ahead and say greed and selfishness, where we take resources and environments for granted and use them for our own gain. I think with and to the extent that we forget that other species lived there and were there before us in the first place. So definitely Dr. Jane Goodall was a very big influence on me when I was younger, but I'd have to say that my most significant influence on the way that I approach my work and just my life in general, in terms of sustainability and environment, is Miss Mariglo Lairiret, who, I don't know if she's watching right now. No, she's not. But Miss Mariggs, if you end up seeing this, hello, thank you so much for just the incredible influence you have been. My time working with you in El Nido has absolutely changed the way I see the world. So Miss Mariggs, for our viewers today, is the head of El Nido Resort's environmentalist and sustainability group. And she does absolutely amazing work in Palawan. Integrating the local community into sustainability initiatives, of course, making sure that all the resorts run in a sustainable but still very profitable manner. And that's what I really like about her approach. She thinks about different perspectives. She thinks about profit. She thinks about corporate responsibility. She thinks about health in the barangays. So I just think that she is someone who is truly fighting the fight when it comes to sustainability and sustainable business.
Excellent.
Those are excellent, thoroughly excellent choices. Interesting what you were saying about Jane Goodall, because I believe that she actually changed the definition of human beings, which before was animals, but that could use tools, and her discovery that in fact chimpanzees and then further on lots of other animals use tools forced a lot of humanists to change their definition. So yeah, we are not that different from the rest of the animal kingdom at all. But I know Miss Dairirit, I've met her before as well, and yes, she is an incredible individual. We're so happy to have her here in the country.
Thank you, Nikki, for those wonderful examples. And I think, Mark, we're going to find from all our youth members, they're going to select someone from the elite levels of, if you can say that, the elite levels of the environment and climate change. And then they're also going to select people that were hands-on with them. So, be it teachers or someone that they worked for in the blue collar level. So I'm really excited to see. I'd like to personally volunteer either Alexa or Kiana next to answer the question of who inspired you, and Mark and I will go last. So Alexa or Kiana, the floor is yours in regards to who were your environmental heroes.
So I can talk about mine and then Kiana can follow, if that's okay.
Sure.
I feel like the tension is building up so much, so I'm ready to share. So Actually, Europe, you bring some interesting points about how there are definitely some high-level figures in our lives that have influenced the way we appreciate the environment, and also people that we've worked with directly that have created such big impacts in our lives. And it's safe to say for me that one of those high-level people is Al Gore. He literally started everything for me with that one documentary. And made me realize something I never knew before about how impactful we actually can be with the way that we currently operate in the world, or how we engage with the environment. So that was such a big thing for me. But as I progressed and learned more about the environmental conservation world, David Attenborough definitely played a huge part of just making me love the environment. And I think that he played such a big role because he was so easy to understand, and he introduced you to so many places around the world that so many people would never have the opportunities to go to, but you could see it and experience it and feel it in a way that was just so magical, and in actually a very real way. And I've really admired his work over the last couple of years, because he would always focus so much on the wildlife world. But if you see the way that his documentaries have changed the last few years, he's been far more direct to say humans have made such a big impact in making our natural world far worse than it should be. And we need to take more of a responsibility as individuals, as governments, as companies, to do more, because this is not just about taking care of the environment because it's pretty. We're taking care of the environment because we depend on it as well. And it's trying to build that connection that I think a lot of conservationists fail to do. So he helped bridge that gap for me. And I think for people on the ground, there have definitely been so many people in the sustainable tourism space that have showed me and really inspired me to keep working specifically in this industry, especially those people working in the African companies in natural selection and wilderness safaris. But there was especially one person that I met during my fieldwork in Botswana in 2018. And it's this man named Mpape, and he's from this local village in Moriamato in Botswana. And he's this amazing man who is educating people in his village, especially children, trying to make them appreciate wildlife, and also, of course, educating tourists as they come in. So he's done an amazing role trying to bridge the gap between communities, the tourism company, and with wildlife and tourists, because the village that he's from actually experiences so much human wildlife conflict, and they don't appreciate wildlife the same way. And you can understand why, when elephants are literally tramping on their crops and lions are eating their cattle. You can't blame those people for not having that kind of relationship. So anyone who's engaging people directly on the ground and trying to find a way to connect everyone to a natural experience has been really inspiring to me. And that's the kind of work that I've been wanting to do for these last couple of years.
Awesome. Wonderful examples. All right. I'm excited, Mark, to hear Kiana's environmental heroes. All right, the floor is yours, my dear.
So Alexa pointed out David Attenborough, and then Nikki pointed out Charles Darwin. For me, I really look up to the Greta Thunberg, the girl that actually changed the landscape for us, the young environmentalists. She actually proved that we, the young people, can lead, that we can actually take in charge. And yeah, but she did not stop until lawmakers gave her the opportunity to talk, to share what she believes in. So I think that's something that we should also have as young environmentalists here in the Philippines. And her work has inspired so many movements now all over the world. And siguro I also want to share how our NYC coordinator, Ms. Obel, has inspired both batches, diba, of the National Youth Council in what we do. Kasi her passion for environmental education, teaching kids about the importance of sustainability, and guiding us, diba, young environmentalists, in our work, in our daily lives, how we can integrate the values that in what we do every day. Si Miss Obel talaga, parang she guided us all the way. And she's always there for the National Youth Council. So, and Caesar Joel then, of course. I think everyone in the WWF main office, diba? Parang they're always there for us whenever we do our talks, whenever we want to know more how we can engage young people in environmental sustainability. They're always there to give advice and provide guidance for the whole youth council.
All right. More excellent, excellent examples. I'm going to ask you now, Wilson, who is your environmental hero? I mean, like, what inspired you to get involved?
Well, as mentioned before, Mark, you're quite familiar with my history regarding this, and it's pretty similar to yours. We all started, of course. I mean, our parents were vital in helping point us in direction of loving the environment. And they didn't know it though, because they moved to a house that just happened to live. I just happened to live next door to a creek. And this creek was my world, you know, from elementary school all the way up until high school. And my brothers and I, you know, we were 4 boys. After school, we just go straight to that creek and play in nature. And so my parents had no idea that that helped heavily influence me in regards to that. But moving on, it's the teachers, you know, that really pushed me into loving the environment. Field trips. Anytime the teacher said, all right, let's get out of the classroom and we're going to have a field trip out in nature, you know, that was the best day ever in class. So everybody had somebody that was very hands-on, and it's definitely my teachers, Miss McGloin in 4th grade, Miss Bembry in 6th grade. I can't believe I still remember their names, but
wow.
Yeah, very influential in regards to that. And of course, I have to admit, the educational system, and on top of that, the state of California, they had a lot of public service announcements that they would always put on TV, that they would put on the newspapers or on billboards. You know, we had wonderful slogans that were really ingrained in our head. You know, give a hoot, don't pollute. Only you can prevent forest fires. You know, and of course the slogan, just simply don't pollute, that is forever embedded in my head. Now, from a elite environmental iconic heroes, straight off the bat, you know, I just love what Leonardo DiCaprio has done with his I mean, one half of him, he's glitz and glamour, he's an Academy Award winning actor, but he uses 1000% of his social media to be strictly pertaining to the environment. You know, he doesn't have to do that, but and you probably think, oh, he's just doing that just to get attention, but no, I mean, I follow him every day, and he you know, he really walks the walk, talks the talk. So I appreciate someone as big as that can still be able to have the environment play such a pivotal role in his life. And of course, 2 more, Boyan Slat. Does anyone know who Boyan Slat is? I'm gonna throw that name out. Yes, anyone? No chance. No, you cannot Google him. Okay, you know what he does. He is a Dutch inventor. He created Ocean. He's the CEO of Ocean Cleanup. He's the inventor that invented that simple device that picks up garbage from the big Pacific garbage dump that we have going on. And I absolutely love him because he is a problem solver. That's what we need more of. He just simply went out there and decided, hey, we have all this garbage and plastic just swimming around in our oceans, and he went and invented this thing that cleans it up. So I absolutely adore him, we need more people like him. So Boyan Slat, he's exactly what you guys are. He's young and he's the future. And locally, my other environmental iconic hero is, of course, Gina Lopez. I absolutely adore her. I've had the honor of protesting alongside her on a couple occasions. And come on now, she is the only politician or only person to have been fired from her job for doing her job so well. I mean, no one else can ever have that moniker. So it was such an honor to know her and to work with her. So she's definitely an icon. So there, yeah, I wish we could make more people like her. But with the Youth Council, I feel we have some Gina Lopez's amongst our midst. How about you, Mark?
I agree. Wow, great, wonderful. Wonderful suggestions. I guess the two people that influenced me the most are two mothers. First of all, my mother, who's a huge nature lover to this very day. She's retired, and she goes on bushwalks every day. She's always surrounded by nature. I have a constant stream of beautiful sunrise, sunset, flower, ocean, beach, bird photos being sent to me by WhatsApp from her. But from a very young age, I grew up in East Africa with her for a little while, and she got me to appreciate the natural world. And then when I was old enough, I think 11 or 12, she taught me how to scuba dive, so I could then appreciate the undersea world as well. And this actually ties in with the other mother, which is of course Mother Nature. I was very fortunate to learn about the environment through experience, through going out there and seeing it and appreciating it firsthand. But then also over the years, being able to see the change, the difference. Much like Revilson, I did learn about the environment in school. I was very, very lucky to have that opportunity, and to see it change so quickly and firsthand really hit me hard and made me appreciate the need for us to take care of the environment, because it can change and degrade so quickly, and it is so obviously caused by human hands. It's nothing else. So yeah, I think those are the two biggest influences on my side. Although I must say that I resonate with each and every person's environmental hero here, because I think that there are so many of them that even without realizing, they all have a little bit of an influence on us. You watch an Attenborough documentary and it clicks, you listen to Gina Lopez, or you spend some time with her, boom, that clicks. You listen to any of your teachers, your environmental teachers, people within WWF. I know Joel Palmer now, and then our former CEO, Laurie Tan, who has one of the greatest, I guess, repositories of knowledge about the natural world, an incredible person to listen to as well. There are so many teachers out there, and I feel like I want all of the youth of the Philippines to spend just a few minutes with all of them, so that they can learn just a fraction of what we've had the benefit of learning, and have the benefit of that kind of an influence. But I agree with you, Revilson. I think our current youth council will be the heroes of the future to a new generation.
Hear, hear.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So moving on from all of that.
That was nice. Well done, Mark. Sorry, we were so stunned at that wonderful presentation of yours that we were in awe. Sorry about that.
Sorry, rambling a little bit.
No. Well said, sir.
But we want to ask our youth council, because we know there's a lot of young people out there tuning in at the moment. What do you think is the most effective way to convey the messages of the environment to an audience, particularly to the youth?
Can I just add super
Yes.
quickly? I wanted to say hello to our audience. Thank you guys for being here. Please leave any questions that you have for us in the comments, because we will be taking time to answer them here.
Yes, thank you for that reminder, Nikki. Absolutely. We'd love to hear from the audience as well. So Mark, going back to your question.
Yeah, what do you guys think is the best way of I guess connecting with an audience to get them to take an interest in the environment?
So, Mark, I'm just going to come from my experience working in the Youth Council, because we did actually do a lot of campaigns and engagement talks with different schools, and a lot of them focused on climate change. And one of the key things that I tried to focus on whenever I would present to different schools was to try to find out what was really important to those specific students, or I guess to students in general. And I think in any way that you try to speak to a person coming from a specific background and someone coming from a different background, you want to understand where they're coming from, what they appreciate, what they don't understand, and then try to jump off from there. So, for example, with young individuals, I think we're seeing a huge growth in activism and appreciation for social development, for human rights, for environmental conservation, and it's amazing. Which at the same time actually means that it will be much easier to engage these people. But at the same time, you want to be able to give them opportunities where they can contribute active engagement or direct work. So I think, at least coming from my perspective, it is trying to understand what exactly they want to do, showing them what can be accomplished through examples from fellow young people, or even from people who are not, who are more mature as well. Because anyone can accomplish anything no matter what age they're from, no matter what background they're in. And I think you need to be able to inspire that in whoever you're trying to talk to. So it's just about trying to connect with them on a more personal level and trying to make it understandable to them. Because, for example, if I'm, let's say, speaking to people here in the UK about situations that are happening in the Philippines, and I'm saying, oh, our country experiences so much issues with floods and people lose homes and our environments are destroyed, they won't appreciate that because they're not from the Philippines. So it's just in the same way where you're talking to someone, let's say from Palawan, and you try to bring it as much as possible close to home and make them see what change can they do for their own communities, what can they do within their power. And I think when you start it from there, it makes it much easier for them to conceptualize what they can actually do, and it can then grow so much bigger from there.
Yeah, no, very, very well said. I think, yeah, relating it to personal experiences is important because, as you said, it's kind of an out of sight, out of mind. If they haven't personally experienced an issue, it's very difficult for them to relate to it and therefore care much about it. But if you can show them that they can have a direct positive impact on their experience with the environment, then they're a lot more likely to pay attention.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, Mark. I think a lot of young people and just a lot of Filipinos have experienced tragedies with natural disasters the last couple of years, and people can appreciate that. People can understand that. But, at the same time, while we want to be able to bring these issues close to home and talk about, these are the negative effects, some of the important things that I've learned as well in attending different events about communicating climate work and environmental work is actually, regardless of whether it's young or old or whoever you're talking to, it shouldn't be about focusing on just the negative things that are happening, because it's hard for people to keep working on that mindset that if I don't do anything, the world's not going to survive. It has to also be about stories of hope. And I think it's just always going back to, this is what we can do, and this is what is happening. Mm-hmm. And it's about inspiring that positivity, because if you don't have that positivity, how can you continue to fight the good fight in climate change, in conservation, and whatever else? And that's actually one of the key things that I remember Al Gore mentioning in one of his events. You always need to have hope in the good work that you do, because then you won't have anything to work towards.
Interesting. Now, you brought up Al Gore, Alexa. I'm going to direct this question to, again, of course, Nikki and Kiana. Social media, documentaries, media, that it is a huge aspect of the lives of the youth, obviously. Now, for Mark and I think we just had documentaries and going out into the wild. That was the best way we can embrace, this
and
world.
National Geographic magazine.
And National Geographic magazine, yes, which I stole a couple from the library. Oops, I admitted that, sorry. Now, we have Alexa's example where she was heavily influenced by statistics and you know, Al Gore with his wonderful documentary. And then of course we have Kiana, her call to action was because she saw a straw pulled out of the nostril of a turtle, and that affected her, which of course affected millions of other people. You know, Nikki, of course, a child of the social media world as well, is affected. What do you think is a better lure for the youth in attracting them to be interested in climate change? Is it shock and awe, or is it these statistics, or is it these videos of us cutting nets from off of animals? What, you know, what is the best way to send the message out there?
I'm gonna jump right in actually, because you actually mentioned the point that I was going to make right after Alexa Rove. So that was great. We have some telepathy going on, I guess.
Yeah, the ESPN girl.
Absolutely. But anyway, so I was actually inspired by your comment about Leonardo DiCaprio and how he dedicates his entire platform, which is absolutely massive, to
Yes.
posting about the environment and sustainability. So, like Alexa said, I think connecting stories to places where people can relate and experience the wild and nature around them is important. I also think, though, that social media, I mean, we're seeing it right now in today's social political climate. Social media has immense and incredible power. I think, you know, in yesteryears, no one would ever imagine that an election could be lost or won by posts on Facebook and Twitter. Not to get too political, but anyway, I think my point essentially is that I think, and this is something I try to do in my own social media. I definitely think that I could do it better, but I do make a conscious effort. I think it's important, while shock and awe is always a factor that is effective, it's good to weave sustainability narratives into our day-to-day lives, make them fashionable, make them engaging, attractive, trending. And I actually think, because, you know, I think there's very much a perception where people think, oh, it's like climate change posts again, like, oh, it's environmental posts again, it's another video of sea turtles suffering, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's also important for people to see sustainability woven into everyday activities like travel, fashion, two big examples. And I actually believe that the two of you do an incredible job of that. And it's something that I really, really appreciate. You know, both of you live the life, and not in an extreme way. I mean, none of you are vegan. And obviously you do generate waste in your day-to-day lives, but you always make good choices and you never hesitate to share them online. I think that's something that's very powerful because it normalizes this attitude of sustainability and conservation, which I think is very important. So yeah, I think while, you know, shock and awe, as you said, is important, definitely normalization of good habits that take care of our environment and its species is just as powerful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. You know, we literally, this topic of social media and the environment can take up another separate conservation conversation. So we'll leave that for another time. But I just had to touch upon it because it is obviously something that you know, entails all of our lives. But yeah, moving back onto the topic of what we came here specifically to do, I'd like to ask you guys, you know, in regards to the youth, how can the Filipino youth integrate environmental sustainability into their daily lives? Any specific examples that they can do?
I'm just going to connect to what Nikki was saying, because she raised a very important point about how weaving it into the normal stories, into our day-to-days, into every single aspect of the things we do is actually very crucial, because then it doesn't have to be a thing where we overthink and we have to make so much of an effort to consider the sustainable option. But it's literally just kind of like trying to do additional research on the things that you want to do, the things you want to buy, the things you want to invest in. I guess it's like, let's say coming from my perspective as an individual, I try to think about the purchase I need to make and reflect, is this something that I absolutely need, or is it something that I just want? And if it's something that I want, how will it enrich my life, and what are the sustainable options that I can look into? Because I think that with this growth in the sustainable living mindset, there are so many different companies and organizations that are trying to educate people and are trying to give people those options. And we do have those in the Philippines as well. We have some exciting organizations like obviously WWF-Philippines, groups like Mooney, Save Philippine Seas, that are trying to introduce Filipinos to all these different sustainable options in terms of, you know, the daily things that we do. And it's just trying to keep that mindset that we try to think of our long-term impacts in the decisions that we make. So let's say even coming from a sustainable tourism perspective, if you're going to go to a place that interacts with wildlife, ask questions to the tour operators and ask them how that interaction actually happens. Are you going to be keeping a safe distance from animals so that you obviously respect their space, they're not being affected by your presence, but you can still enjoy the experience of having them there and realizing that these amazing creatures exist in the world. And, you know, even asking like your accommodations, your hotels, what are the sustainability practices that you're pursuing? Because I want to know that the places I'm staying in are doing good practices. Are you implementing energy efficiency measures? Are you, you know, even paying your workers well and educating them on how to be more sustainable in their jobs as well? So I think when we start questioning the different groups that we approach, whether it's companies or, you know, products that we buy, the more we ask, the more they know that we're interested in that. And I think there's so much power in that, because I've seen my National Youth Council members do that as well. And it's really inspiring to see that all these different people that they interact with are changing their minds. If it's okay, I'd actually like to give a really quick example about my mom, because she has been such a huge environmental advocate the last couple of years. And I'm so proud of her that when we go to resorts and hotels and she sees all these single-use plastics around, she started questions them and asks management, what is going on? Why aren't you reducing your plastic consumption? And she goes off, and it's amazing. And you need to do that as an individual to create the change, you know, for these different companies, for these different organizations. And that's a great way to impact, you know, in your daily decisions.
Was Mama never like that before, Alexa? Did she just have this renaissance of enlightenment regarding the environment recently, or she was always like that?
So I think with my mom, she's always like introduced me to different places around the world, and that was always such a huge privilege. But I think there wasn't necessarily a strong relationship with the environment, because it wasn't as strong there, because she's a very business-minded person. But when she saw me get into sustainability and conservation work, even though she had some of her reservations about it, because, you know, like with any parent, they want to make sure that you get a secure job and everything. And environmental work or development work doesn't always provide that. And I think that was always her main concern. But she saw me pursue environmental work even when I was doing my management course in college. She saw me pursue a sustainability job, and I'm still here 10 years later doing what I'm doing. And she has evolved so much. Like, she is such a defender, I think, of good environmental work. She's been amazing. So yeah, I think it shows just how much people can actually change in the way that they approach their daily lives. And it's really inspiring, because it doesn't mean that just because, you know, you're more mature in your life doesn't mean you have to be stuck in your ways. You can change at any point in time. And that's really great.
Yeah, I mean,
Excellent.
a lot of people say that an old dog, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But I think if you get the old dog's puppy to try and teach them and influence them, then that's the best way of changing. So that's actually one of the big advantages of the youth. You guys have the ability to change the ingrained attitudes of the elders around you. because they love you, because they listen to you more than they will sometimes to people of their own age, telling them what they should do, why the environment is good and important. But if your kid is leading by example, then I think it behooves you to try and do the right thing, because you always want to lead, be a good example for your kid. And if your kid is a better example, you're like, damn it, no, I need to be the good example here.
Yeah, I think that's Mark.
How about the rest of you? Do you guys have any tips on how the youth can help protect the environment?
Yeah, for me, I think the young people should be and should stay curious and conscious. We should not be afraid to ask questions. And actually, right now, information is just at the tip of our fingers. It's just one search away, right? So we should maximize all platforms to learn more and to talk more about the environment. And read articles. And for me, what really helped me is actually meeting a good mentor nga from the WWF office, kasi they were really able to guide us as we also try to engage more young people in environmental advocacy. So look, having a good mentor is actually really helpful rin for us young people. And now, although we cannot still do it because we should still stay at home, once pwede na, we should go out and experience nature firsthand. Go hiking, and if you can, go diving, engage with people who's doing environmental education. Also look at how they tell the story, or look at how they convey the message to young people or to other audiences. So I think that's something that we can do then if we really want to push forward for environmental sustainability.
Well said. Well said. I'd like to remind our listeners out there, our fellow Planeteers and Earth Warriors, again, ask some questions if you have any. Please, we'd love to answer them. One in particular is we'd like to know who your personal heroes are internationally and locally. So go ahead and chime in, and we'll get to them as soon as we're done with this. But I'd like to also add, what I love about the youth now is the fact that volunteerism is such a big part and aspect of what you guys got going on. Back in the day, growing up, when I was your age, we didn't do beach cleanups. We didn't do, volunteer work. And it doesn't even have to be about the environment. I mean, a volunteerism for, food drives or, charity work during Christmas time. So volunteerism is massive amongst you guys. And I really appreciate that about you. And I mean, weekends now are not about going to the beach. They're now, hey, let's do a beach cleanup, or let's do a pick up garbage at the hike that we're going to do. I love that you integrate that. So kudos to you guys. That's more of a comment, but if you want to expound on that, anybody, I really appreciate you guys really embrace volunteerism.
Well, actually, in line with that a little bit, Ravilson, I mean, those are sorts of projects that the people are doing now. And in line with that, I want to ask our youth council, what are some of the projects that you guys have implemented during your term within the youth council?
Alexa, maybe you can talk about the Earth Hour camp back in 2017.
Sure. Why not?
Businesses.
Yeah, definitely. So during the batch 1 term, so that was the first 2 years of the NYC, we did have a range of projects that we did implement, including the Earth Hour camp that Kiana mentioned. So it was a platform or a way for us to engage youth during the actual Earth Hour event in Manila. So there were different booths that related to like climate change and reforestation that we tried to build. And these were basically different games and activities to try and educate different people on these scenarios. So that was one of the things that we implemented. One of the other things that we did, which was also very much inspired by Al Gore and by Leo DiCaprio, was these climate change talks that we held in different universities and different schools. So we tried to talk about the impact of climate change, how it affects students, and we also did viewings of Leo DiCaprio's documentary Before the Flood, which I thought was just a fantastic, fantastic film. And I think one of the other ones that is especially close to my heart because of the industry that I'm working in, as well as the Green Wanderer travel event or the travel fair. So it was the first of its kind in the Philippines, where we tried to introduce conscious and sustainable travel, showing people that these options do exist in the Philippines and we wanted to grow. And we brought all these different speakers and different companies to showcase the work that they're doing. And I think Nikki can actually talk a bit more about that because I think this was technically like Nikki's brainchild as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alexa. It may have been my brainchild, but it really came to fruition because of the entire WWF team. You know, I honestly think, going back to what Kiana said, we are so lucky that the people who guide us and manage us in WWF really trust us, even though we're young. It's such a blessing. And so, as Alexa was saying, Green Wanderer, a sustainable travel fair, was actually done in collaboration with the Department of Tourism. It was super exciting because I think the underline of all of it was that we really wanted to promote the Philippines as a country, and so that brought everyone from all the different sectors together. We were all just so excited about it, and we wanted to do it in a way that showed people that sustainable business does indeed exist in our country. I feel at that point, the trend of sustainability hadn't gotten around to the Philippines as much yet. And so it was really nice to be one of the groups that pioneered all of that. And we wanted to show people that you don't need to go on a safari in Africa to see the incredible outdoors. You just need to go a couple hours to a beach and or to the mountains. It was also amazing to have all these different vendors taking part in the fair. We had sustainable agriculture. Of course, we had all the different tourism destinations, but we also had media companies who were very interested in promoting sustainability efforts. We had travel agencies, tour operators, even sustainable fashion designers. So it was definitely an incredible experience. And I am of the hope that it's just one of many to come.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah,
why is it only a one-time thing? Can we have it happen annually? Why can't we generate that on an annual schedule?
I think that was the intention, actually, but we had a very busy 2018 and 2019. I believe we did continue the series in 2018, but we focused a little bit more on sustainable food, which was really exciting, very delicious. And then obviously 2020 did turn out the way it is turning out. So hopefully when things are a bit more normal, we do get to pursue that. Especially because I definitely foresee local travel becoming more and more of a thing as borders are a bit harder to cross. So hopefully everyone falls back in love with the Philippines again,
Yes.
and in a very sustainable way. I think that's very important because tourism is definitely booming in this country, but sometimes the manner in which it is executed is quite harmful to the environment. So
sad, but very sad, but very true. I wanted to ask you guys, I mean, you're obviously very passionate about the environment and also getting involved with the Youth Council, but at least for Kiana and Alexa, you guys are in the workforce now. Nikki, you do some work on the side whilst you're still studying. But how have you guys been able to integrate your advocacy of the environment into your work? Or you specifically went for that? I think in Alexa's case, this was always your goal. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. I basically wanted to make wildlife conservation my whole life. I like to think of all the animals in the world as my children that I want to take care of. And that's, I've tried to integrate it in every way that I possibly can. So in all the jobs that I've chosen, I think I've just been really lucky. I don't even know if it's blessed, but I've been really lucky to be engaging with the right people, and I would know of these opportunities and I could actually apply, because environmental work or conservation work isn't necessarily as easily accessible to everyone. But I think that I always try to like volunteer my services, and that opened up doors. So right now, I'm working as an environmental consultant. So it's still connected to the jobs that I used to do back home in the Philippines, where I'm providing support in different projects to local government, national government, and trying to engage businesses in sustainability reporting, in improving waste management systems, and in actually changing policy as well in the European countries. So that's what the work that our consultancy is trying to do. And I'm really lucky to be able to work in that right now. And as my side project, I'm also helping out an NGO, like you mentioned earlier, Mark, to try to implement a sustainable tourism initiative, because they have different communities in Zimbabwe that are extremely affected by poverty and they don't have a lot of livelihood opportunities. But I went for a field work visit last year to try and see what we can try to pull out, what strengths the area has. And that's basically my role right now, to try and see if there is that opportunity for sustainable tourism. So it's obviously moving a bit slow right now, since the tourism industry is kind of, on hold, but there's a lot of work to be done. And I think that me just trying to volunteer as much of my time towards that is really how I try to integrate it. Like literally volunteering for WWF was such a big part of what I was doing when I was doing my full-time job. So yeah, that's how I've tried to do it so far.
Awesome. How about you, Kiana?
I actually try to influence first my fellow employees to adopt a less waste lifestyle. So I try to convince them not to use single-use plastics anymore. Always try to bring their eco bags with them whenever we go out, or to try and bring their own baon whenever we're in work. Diba? Parang it's something very simple, but I guess it's also impactful in a way. So that is one way how I integrate environmental sustainability in my work or in my daily life. Another is I also try to volunteer for projects that are in the line of environment and sustainability. I try to share whatever I know. In sustainability, I also try to connect I also try to connect them with people who can help them build the project that they want to. So that's what I do right now. I actually work for a local NGO whose main objective is to reduce poverty in the country. And right now, actually, the people, the sector who are in the poverty line is actually our farmers and our fisher folks. Diba? So that's something that we're trying to work on, how we can improve the lives of our farmers and our fisher folks, and at the same time make them more climate change resilient, para their source of income is not going to be that affected, diba? In the aspect of climate change. Parang ganun. That's what we're doing right now.
Awesome. Excellent. Nikki, anything you want to add?
Yes, I'd love to add. Actually, I want to repeat a point that I mentioned last ConCon that we did. And it's that, especially from the point of view of a student, because I know that there are many students who are out there who are watching us right now and following WWF, I think it's really important to make environmentalism and sustainability not an extracurricular activity, but part of your curriculum for yourself. Especially as you progress in your education, when you enter undergrad, grad, you get more autonomy over what subjects you want to take. And I think it's really important because there are the options to pursue some sort of study that looks at environment and sustainability. It doesn't matter, I think, what field you're looking to go into in the future. One question I always get actually is, what are you doing for WWF? I thought you were very interested in business. And in my head, well, it's like, of course I'm working for WWF because I'm interested in business. Because in my head, as I mentioned a while ago, proper business is sustainable in an economic sense, a social sense, a political sense, and in an environmental sense. And I think the only way for me to learn that and make sure that I have this infrastructure in the way that I problem solve and plan and goal set when I'm in the workforce is by taking classes with professors who genuinely care about the world that we live in and the species we share it with, and really make that part of my field of study. So again, as I mentioned before, one class that I'm really, really interested in taking that I think is going to be very instrumental to my journey as a young person in business is a class on international law, where we're going to be learning about different environmental policies, maritime law, all this stuff I think that big business deals with on a daily basis and is often at odds with environmental organizations about. I definitely think that a middle ground exists and should be pursued between for-profit business and nonprofit organizations. I think they can exist together, and that is the secret to a successful organization, really.
Well said. Well said. I mean, you know, if all three of you, the commonality is, of course, business. You plan to work in the business field, but of course, you know, with the environment being the guiding principle in that. Now, bottom line, but businesses are here to make money. Businesses are here to make money. Businesses are about saving money. And if you have the practice of sustainability, you're either going to save money, and with that being said, you're going to make money. So I know money is the root of all evil, but hey, it is the bottom line. And there is a future in the packaging industry. There's a future in energy. You know, there's a future in ecotourism. There is ways to make money, but the best part about it is you can save the earth at the same time. And that's what I'm so excited for you guys, because you guys are at the forefront of it all. You guys are the inventors. You guys are the future business leaders, the CEOs, the ones who will make the decisions to make this world a better place. So thank you for, you know, all you guys are doing, and for all the studying that you're doing. My goodness, I couldn't even think about going back to school. Could you go back to school, Mark? There's no way I can go.
Not. Are you kidding me?
Oh man!
Oh,
I'll leave it to the smarty pants here on the Zoom meeting here.
I know.
Man.
Oh, thank God they don't bring up our GPA scores. Did you guys realize that it's already past 7? I mean, the time has gone so fast. I wish that we could stay on forever. There's so many more questions that we'd like to ask, which just means, I guess, you know, like we're going to have more of these con-cons in the future. But one last thing before we go, I just want to ask each of you if you have a message for the youth out there on what they can do to help care for the planet.
Yeah, I can go ahead. I think this is a nice follow-up to the point I just made answering the last question. And my message to the youth is, one way to fall in love with something is to know it and to learn it. So definitely, everyone watching, I'm serious when I say make it a priority to learn about the world we live in, the mechanics of it, our impact on it, and the species we share it with. The more you learn, the more you'll realize how special it is to be alive at this time on this planet. Yeah, and I think it really, I'm waxing a bit spiritual here, but it really gives you a sense of purpose to everything that you do and the people that you surround yourself with.
Excellent.
So I'm going to connect a bit to what Nikki was mentioning, you know, especially coming from a perspective as a student, which I was years ago. And I'm going to assume that the people on like watching us right now are, you know, these young environmentalists who are really aspiring to get to this kind of work. I think there's this huge misconception where you need to have a degree in science or anything related to science to be involved in conservation work. And I think that is so, it's very easy to, I don't know, get shaken by that. I took up management when I was in college, and I was worried I would never get the opportunities to do the work that I'm currently doing. But I think you need to be able to look at the course that you're pursuing, or whatever thing that you want to do in your life, and see how you can integrate environmentalism in that. I have a friend that's studying fashion right now, and she's trying to integrate sustainability in that. I'm doing my sustainable tourism work. I have friends working in the energy industry and are pushing for renewable energy, and even like my dad's business in food and restaurant, he's trying to find ways to farm sustainably. There are so many ways that we can get involved, and it doesn't have to be limited to I need to get a degree in environmental conservation. So don't feel limited by that, and also just try to continue engaging with people. I think that once you get to a point where people kind of see you as a person with sustainability knowledge, they will go to you for questions. I know that because I have friends who thankfully trust me and ask me those kinds of questions. And you may not always know the answers, but don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Let me find out for you. And you build your knowledge, you grow, and it's amazing. And that's what you can do to find a way to integrate sustainable living into your life, because youth can do it. Woo! My favorite hashtag.
Yeah, it's a great one, actually. All right, Kiana, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'd like to echo Nikki's and Alexa's points, that we can only talk about something that we know, but a degree in arts or a degree not related to environment should never stop us. We should, just like what I've mentioned a while ago, we should be and should stay curious and conscious. We should never stop learning about the environment and about how we can contribute. And do not be afraid to start using simple ways, or using simple or doing small steps. You can start by consuming less single-use plastics, or doing simple things such as not wasting food. Do not be afraid to start small. Parang do not just continue with what you want to learn, and then look for mentors, and then just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Diba? Parang that's something that can really help us young environmentalists, as we grow to learn more about what we want to happen for the planet that we live in.
Well said.
Very, very well said.
All right.
Wilson, anything you would like to add?
Well, as the fourth youngest person here, I guess I can contribute something to this youth talk. I'd like to harp on what Kiana said, and I just lost my point. My goodness.
Old age, short-term memory loss.
Yeah, okay. Well, now I'm the oldest person here because I completely forgot what I wanted to say. I went from fourth youngest to oldest now. But everyone thinks an environmentalist has to live perfectly. You know what? Here's a shocker, guys. We don't live perfectly. I do use, plastic is part of my life. Once, I can't escape it, but I recycle it. I try to make the right decisions, knowing what I know now. So don't be afraid, and don't worry. Environmentalists aren't perfect. It's okay if you can't recycle everything, if you can't compost, if you're not taking, public transport. It's okay, as long as you know and are able to make the right decisions to maybe lessen your carbon footprint, okay? And like these ladies said, surround yourself with like-minded people. And again, the term environmentalist, it sounds so serious, but guess what? We are all environmentalists. This is something I've been preaching since day one. You don't have to go out and try to save the world. An environmentalist is someone, if I'm not going to throw that garbage out my window and I wait to throw it away properly, guess what? You're an environmentalist. If you're recycling that plastic bottle and making it into a vase later on, you're an environmentalist. So again, it's just your effort and make it a lifestyle, and that's definitely one thing I would like to add in addition to that. Again, we are talking about the youth and they are the big focus here, but they have something to say, you know. So I'm reaching out to my generation. Don't discount what the youth, just because you feel they lack experience. No, no, no. They're out there doing a lot more than you are, and a lot more than we are. So they're always great to listen to. They have their own stories. They have new ideas, fresh ideas. So don't be afraid to listen to the younger generation, because you'll never know. You might learn something new as well from them. All right.
Here, here.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes. Well, I love what everyone has said, and I agree 100%. Whatever your job, whatever you're studying, it doesn't matter. The environment is integrated into our very lives. We live it. We live in the environment, so we can have a positive influence on it with everything and anything we do in whatever industry you happen to be in. It's all about making the right choices. Now, as Ravilson said, it can be the small choices. It starts with the small choices, but then it builds up, much like Alexa's mom. You know, it started small, but then now it's built up, and then that person then influences as well. And I think that's one of the biggest things that the youth of today can do. Educate yourself about the environment, because the more you learn, the more that you will want to do the right thing, and the easier it becomes. The more knowledge you have, the more you learn about the things that you can do. And then not only can you do it, but you can also lead by example and tell other people about it, and other people will see it. So, I mean, the youth of today are the teachers of tomorrow. And that teaching can start as early as you want it to. And we've got 3 amazing current teachers that are going on to be future leaders in the environment with us today. Guys, we just want to thank you all so very much for everything that you do. We wish we had people like you to look up to when we were younger than you a long time ago, because you guys are incredible role models. And I do truly believe that in a few years, if we have a similar conversation with the younger generation, they're going to point to you guys as their environmental heroes. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies, and to everyone, all of our viewers that joined as well. If you have any more questions, please go to wwf.org.ph, and we've got all sorts of wonderful information there. And join us on our next conservation conversation. Thank you very much, guys.
On 3, hashtag youth can do it. 1, 2, 3.
You
can do it. That was horrible.
It was very bad.
Mark and Rose, thank you, by the way, so much for lending your voices and your platforms. From all of us, we are so appreciative. So thank you too.
Thank you very much,
You're
Mark
doing
and
amazing
Rob.
job. Thank you, Mark and
Thank
Rob.
you, guys.
Always
You're very welcome, guys.
Thank you.